So how long have you owned?
I have been the actual owner for just about 10 years.
Okay. And
Just
who
about
owned it
10.
before you?
My father.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Wow.
this is a Generation 4 store.
Oh, wow.
So my great-grandfather
Oh my gosh.
started this thing. Kind of a wild
Wow.
thing, way back in the early 1900s.
So founded it from the very beginning.
Yeah, actually he was part owner of Herella's grocery store.
Okay.
And as the story goes, and it came from my grandfather, and my grandfather did a little drinking, so there might be some twisted stuff about this, but supposedly one day somebody came through East telling him with a car in the early 1900s, and I guess the world just stopped. Everybody was just like, "Have you seen that?"
Oh my gosh.
And everything just stopped.
Yeah.
And people wouldn't quit talking about it. So he thought, well, I'm going to get on the train. I'm going to Detroit and I'm buying a car. And he went and bought a Chevrolet and he drove it back and parked it in front of the grocery store. And when he got back, he immediately sold it and had all these orders for cars. Because back in the day, there were more millionaires per capita in Helena than probably I think anywhere in the world. But it was, according to what I was told. But he started doing that, but started finding a way to bring cars in here, and then pretty soon he was trying to buy trainloads of cars, and because driving them they would break. A lot of them would break on the way, and they just have to leave them. They tried to put them on a train, and they all got stolen.
Wow.
So he had to run guards, and then pretty soon General Motors actually started to ship cars, so they actually had enclosed or they were guarded. And I think he was supposedly one of the first General Motors franchise dealer in Montana.
Wow. And what year was that?
Like 1914 or
Oh my gosh.
12 or 15, somewhere in there. Like I said, there's no...
This is great-great-grandpa.
Great-great-grandfather, and he basically passed it on to his two boys, Clem and Ernie. After World War II, he went south, went to California. He actually had a couple racehorses that actually ran in the Kentucky Derby in the Belmont.
Wow.
He was, by all accounts, he was quite the character. And my grandfather and his brother, they flipped a coin over who got which franchise, because there was Oldsmobile and Pontiac, GM. It'll sound familiar like today, where they don't want these franchises in the same building. They want them separated after World War II. And they flipped a coin. My grandfather ended up with Oldsmobile, and his brother ended up with Chevrolet. So what was Anderson Chevrolet stayed, and my grandfather moved around the corner onto Placer Avenue, therefore the Placer Motors.
Right.
That's where that came from. And then Ernie, my grandfather's brother, got sick, had some serious health problems, and it was fairly obvious he wasn't going to probably live very long, so he ended up getting out of the business, and the person who bought it was a gentleman by the name of George Vukanovich. George was married to Emily Childs, who was the sole heir of the family that owned the Yellowstone Park Company.
Wow.
Needless to say, my grandfather couldn't quite match George's offer for the Chevrolet store. And Ernie had two kids. He was, and a wife he was looking to take care of. So he jumped, and that's how the Chevrolet store got outside the family. Then we were obviously Oldsmobile. We were AMC, Jeep, Renault, and in 1972 we took on Subaru. I think we're currently like the 7th or 8th oldest dealer in the U.S. right now.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that number keeps changing. There's been a lot of attrition lately. I mean, COVID had, almost all the dealers in Montana turned over during COVID. Or after COVID. There's been a lot of changes.
What is your secret to success for keeping a staple in the Helena community and just having generational success in your family, what would you say that's attributed to? Oopsie.
To me, it's consistency. The plan of the day never works. You have to have a long-term plan to make sure that you're taking care of your employees, because if you take care of your employees, they take care of your customers. It's kind of a weird thing, right? So many of these stores, and I mean, that, to each his own, but a lot of auto dealers now are corporate owned. They are not owned by a local Montana person. And in doing so, I mean, some of them are publicly traded, and when you're a publicly traded corporation, it's all about the money. It's all about your stock price today and to hell with tomorrow. And I think when you're a family-owned business, and there's still quite a few of us left in Montana, but I think it is about tomorrow for all of us. I think it's about, you have to make enough money to stay in business. You want to be able to support your community. You want to be able to pay good wages to your people. But you have to have consistency. You can't have your customers show up one day and have your operation be one thing and then have them show up the next day going, what the hell just happened here? That doesn't work.
Do you have a lot of repeat customers?
Tons of repeat customers, which is great. I think it's really, really nice for people when they show up and my service people know them by name, or they know the people by name. They come in and see the salespeople and know them by name. Here, like 7 years ago, one of my salespeople who'd been with us 35 years retired.
Wow, 35 years working.
3 years later,
Wow.
one who'd been there 30 years retired. So all of a sudden, I have these people that everybody knew, and most of the customers really liked and respected, and they're gone. So now I have some younger people, and it's weird because I think Ryan's been here now 9 years. I think Crystal's been here 7. So I mean that's a short-term employee to me. There's lots of people who've been here in that 15, 18-year range, which is kind of cool because I don't have to say a thing. They know how we want things done. They know how to do it. Customers know them, and they have the ability to make decisions without stringing people along. I mean, there's a lot of good that comes from having more long-term employees, but that consistency, having faces that people know, having that experience remain consistent, that's huge.
Was it hard when you took the business over from your dad? Did you have changes you wanted to make, or were you just?
I'd actually been. I don't know. We don't really have titles here in a lot of cases, but I'd probably been the general manager and the operator of the business I've probably been that for 15 to 18 years. So I was kind of doing it my way anyway. And a lot of, I really didn't deviate a whole lot from what my father believed in and what my grandfather believed in. I mean, there's a consistency there. I don't think people really noticed the change from my father to myself. I don't think they really noticed that. I think the changes they did notice were probably good, not bad. And
what are those values that have been passed on from generation to generation and that you have created here with all of your employees? What values do you all share?
Well, this is a golden rule store. You would never do anything to your customer that you wouldn't want to have done to you. And in doing so, I mean, if you keep your customer's best interest in mind and take it to heart and try to be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. I mean, how many times have you heard people say, I went to the and they did and they did terrible things and they lied to me, and you don't do that. Those are the values. I mean, it's a golden rule store. You take care of people and they take care of you. You can give back to your community. You can help people out. You can do some really cool stuff.
What does that look like with the community piece? What do you do? How do you participate in the community?
A lot of that is very much under the radar. I do what I can where I can, but a lot of times, like Subaru has their Share the Love program, and every year, and like this year, we're going to here shortly be giving our donation. It's to Montana Independent Living Project.
Nice. That's awesome.
Or Ability Montana now, and it's going to be about $20,000.
Wow.
So some of the Subaru stuff, their Share the Love program, I mean, we donate coats to kids. We're here shortly, we're going to get 100 trees that we're going to give away for Arbor Day. There's all kinds of stuff like that that goes on. You know,
What was your best year of sales?
You know, believe it or not, COVID was like wildly good because we had no overhead. We would get the cars in and they would go right out. There was no interest expense for flowing the car. There was no cost to the money. I mean, it rolled in and out. And in doing so, I think you would be hard pressed to find a dealer that didn't say that year or two where COVID was going wasn't lucrative, just again because there was a lack of production, but there just weren't the expenses. You didn't have the overhead. And yeah, when your average car is $50,000 or $60,000, and I think that's where the average is right now.
What is the average?
I think it's about $57,000 is the average price of a vehicle right now.
Wow.
We're at in my opinion, a heck of a competitive advantage because the average price of ours is about 36.
And what's the highest mileage of one of your Subarus that have made it? What's the record?
On original engine and original transmission, I've seen a couple Outbacks that are in that 2012, 2014 range that are over 400,000 miles.
Wow, that's incredible.
There's cars out there that have had engines and transmissions that are well over that. It's interesting. I mean, it's nothing to see 100,000 miles on a car these days. It really isn't. Would I want to own one? No, because they still break. I don't care whose car it is; they still break. You know, the wheels go round and round, and so do all the pieces and parts, and then they fail. And nothing is inexpensive to fix.
So recently, you are nominated for the Time Dealership of the Year award.
Yeah.
And what is the criteria that goes into being nominated for something like that? Because it's a pretty big deal.
It's a pretty big deal. Some of it's about community and your involvement in your community. Some of it's about your customer satisfaction ratings. A lot of it's about your activity in the Montana Auto Dealers Association, and you know, are you an active member that's contributing and making a meaningful impact? So that the Auto Dealers Association is probably the sole reason why you have family-owned little dealers still left in Montana.
The battling of all of that for small business to have a presence everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, in the little towns, the manufacturers would definitely like the dealers to be gone. They would like to do nothing but put in a service center. And that's, unfortunately, in some cases, that's kind of what they do. They don't give those guys the product they need. They don't give them the stuff they need, and you know, to really be a profitable going concern. And as a result of that, they sell a couple cars here and there, but they're nothing but a service center. I mean, it's tough. They'd like to be rid of them, but thanks to the legislature and Auto Dealers Association and everything else, we're pretty solid here.
So what happens to the vehicles when they're dead? Where do they go, and what happens to them? Is it?
Some of them will go to the salvage yard.
Okay.
Some of them will go to Pacific Steel and Recycling, and they'll just get crushed.
Great.
It depends on what it is. You know, cars that, you know, if you find a junkyard or a salvage yard like Green Meadow or, you know, Sinus is gone now.
I know, it's so sad. I actually remember going to that Sinus with my dad when I was growing up.
Yeah, I've gone and scavenged a part or two off one of their cars in my day, yeah. But, you know, if you find a salvage yard that is looking for parts for certain cars and you have one, they'll take the car. Sometimes they'll just tell you we don't want it. So, but I mean, a lot of times you're not going to make any money on disposing of the car.
Right,
By the time
right.
you,
That's
yeah,
a bummer.
we'll come get it if we can have it.
So what is your plan? Like, how long do you think do you choose to work?
Well, that's a loaded question, because if my oldest wants to do something with it, maybe my younger one wants part of it too, that it becomes a whole different animal, right? Honestly, with the people that work here with me, there's a core group of them, and there's always more coming up, if you will. But the reality is, as long as they're doing the right thing and they're not tarnishing my name, or not, putting a stain on what this business was, even if I'm 70 and I still own the business, I'm probably okay with that. My role at age 56 is not nearly what my role was at age 45. I mean, we have some new buildings, and I have enough room to put enough people in here that I don't have to spend 16 hours a day here anymore.
Right. That's awesome.
People have been trained, and like I said, they've been here long enough, they know what to do. So I don't need to live here.
Yeah, that's so great.
And there's enough of them that neither do they.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice.
Do you have
for everybody.
siblings?
I have a younger brother and a younger sister. My sister just retired from teaching. She was in the East Helens School District. And then my brother Mike is he lives north of Spokane.
Okay.
And he works for Ryder.
Okay. So they didn't want to get into the business.
No.
You were the guy.
My
You were the
sister
one.
wanted nothing to do with it. My brother's awesome, and I think he's probably, I think he worked for Penske, and I think he was Penske's National Rental Rep of the Year, like 2 or 3 years during the time he was at Penske, years and years ago. So he has some skills, but he didn't want the headache. With all things family business, there's probably more brain damage than one realizes.
And your dad retired here, and he's living the good life.
Yeah, he's still living in the house he lived in when we were kids. He lives down in Sunhaven. It's awesome. I go home, and it's still home.
Oh, that's
And,
awesome.
it's he and Mom live down there. It's right by Capitol High, and my youngest goes to Capitol, obviously, and he and his buddies go to lunch there almost every day.
Oh.
They go to lunch, and there's actually some kids that are a little bit older than that actually go there too at lunchtime. One of the kids is in college. He goes to Carroll, and the other kid is he's my oldest age, and he works at Helen Body and Paint.
Awesome.
Peyton Volk. He goes down there for lunch.
Oh gosh, I
So
love it.
My mom and dad are inundated with
That's awesome.
with kids,
They
but
must be wonderful.
they're awesome.
people.
They're awesome. They're really good. I'd like to retire, but I have way too many bills with these new buildings. I'm here for a while for
That's
sure.
awesome.
But
Wow, we love your business. We love the West Side presence and reinvestment into this side of town.
no, it's cool. It's nice to see it change a little bit and refresh. It would be.